quality characteristics. In this, we are going to find out what the quality characteristics are. In the previous lecture, we have seen that what is the quality, how it is going to have an impact as far as the performance is concerned, what is variability, what is total quality management, etc., etc. But as far as this quality characteristics concerned, when we say that the quality of this product is good or is not good, or it lacks something, or it is not conforming to the standard, etc., etc., then we mean that we are going to measure this quality on certain basis, on certain characteristics. These characteristics are known as quality characteristics. These are performance, reliability, durability, serviceability, aesthetics, features, perceived quality, and conformance to standards. So these 8 are known as quality characteristics. That 8 types of the quality characteristics can be used to assess the quality of a particular product. Either you are going to see the performance of your product, whether the product is reliable or not. Durability is another aspect, like in the case of old shoe company Bata is there, if their recipe is there, or there is selling point is this, that their products are very durable. Serviceability is also there. If suppose you are having very good backup of your product, then customer will not be hesitating in purchasing that, because the service of that product is available. Aesthetics means the look of your product is also a quality characteristics. Features, perception about that the product quality, that is the perception related to the product is this, that if suppose you are having a product of a branded organization, say Tata is there, the perception about that product is that these are the quality products in comparison to the company which is not an established one, or which is not providing the good quality products. And another is the conformance to standard. The product should conform to the standard. In the case of conformance to standards, you can see one example yourself, that if you suppose you are going to purchase the cable, say 5 mm cable is there. If you are going to purchase ISI mark, that is ISI standard is there. So if it is written that it is the wire thickness is 5 mm, it should be going to be 5 mm. And if suppose you are going to take some local one, or it is not ISI standard, and it is written the wire thickness is 5 mm, it will not be 5 mm. It may be 4.5, it may be 4.8, it may be 4. So it is not going to conform to the standard. So these characteristics are going to define the quality of the product. Quality measures. Quality measures can be of 2 types, that is attribute and variable. Attribute means when you are having some sort of discrete response, that is you simply can say this product is good, this product is bad, this particular component is of black color, another one is of white color. Whether this will conform to the specification? Yes. Whether no? No. The dimensions are not good? No. So when you are having some sort of discrete yes or no, good, bad, right, wrong, black, white, taste, no taste, go, not go, all these are the discrete responses. These are known as attributes. While in the case of variable, you are going to measure the dimensions of your product. So this is the product characteristics which can be measured. The length of the rod is say 50 millimeter. You can say the length of the rod is 50.6 millimeter. So you can say exactly that what the length of the rod is, that is, it is measurable. What is the weight? You can say it is 10 kg or 10.5 kg or 10.2 kg. So these characteristics which you can measure, these are known as variable. Now it comes to the target value. We have said that the desired value for the quality characteristics is called nominal or target value for that characteristics. It means what the target value is, that it is the value you want to achieve. That is, you want to have that your product length, or say the length of the rod is 10.5 millimeter. So you want to stick to 10.5. It is the desired value. So length you have measured, the variable, that is you have measured. So this is the quality characteristics. So the desired value, when you are going to have this value close to what you want, this is known as the target value or desired value. This you want to achieve, and whatever product you are going to make, you want to remain as close to that value as possible. And when you come to close or exactly to the target value, this you can say that you are reducing the variability in that product. You want to achieve the desired value, you want to remain close to that target value. This is which is known as the desired value. Variability, as you know that any product which you are making, it will not, that the two products will not be same all the time. You are measuring the length, one product may be of say 10.51 mm, another product may be 10.6 mm, third product may be 10.45 mm. So some variation is going to be there. So this variation, that is the variability which you are talking about, it is there. For this variation, for this variability, there may be two types of causes. One cause is known as random cause, another is known as non-random causes. Random causes, also known as chance causes, natural causes, common causes, while non-random causes are special causes or assignable causes. That is, in the case of chance causes, you cannot eliminate them throughout. You cannot eliminate. But non-random causes, these are the special causes, these are the assignable causes, and you can eliminate them with the help of this management. So you are concerned about these non-random causes, that these should be eliminated, because you can find out the reasons for that. Random causes, as I have said, that these exist in every production process, and output follows a probability distribution. And when any process in which you are having only random causes or chance causes, you can say this process is under statistical control. That is, you need not to take extraordinary measures to remove these variations or to remove these causes. And these are unavoidable as well, because little variation in process variables like length, temperature, time, etc. is going to be there. So in the case of random causes, the process which is showing some variation due to these random causes, that is known as it is under control or under statistical control. What are the assignable causes or non-random causes? So it means you can assign the reason for that. That is, the product which is having variation in its dimensions or in its quality characteristics, it is due to some reason. The reason you can find out, and the reason because of this variation or this cause is going to be there, this is because of certain reason, you can assign this cause. Once you can assign this cause, you can eliminate them. So you can identify this and you can eliminate through management or operators action. Maybe some operator action is going to be there. Because of that, some cause is going to be there, or some product is not as per you are not able to make as per the quality standard. So that may be eliminated. Say the worker or the employee is performing the turning operation. The tool edge has worn out. So because of this, you are not getting the proper surface finish. So when you are going to change your cutting tool, you can again get the proper surface finish. So the assignable reason is this, that your tool was worn out, and because of that you were not able to have the proper surface finish, and that's why the product was not of good quality, but you have removed that cause, so now it is fine. Poor worker training is there. The worker is performing the task, he is not properly trained to operate that machine, and when he is not able to operate that machine properly, he may not be able to give the product the right type of quality. So if you are going to give him training, that cause can be eliminated. Similarly, poor machine maintenance is going to be there. So all these causes are there which may be eliminated by the management or operator action. So in the case of assignable causes, you can assign the reason for that, you can eliminate the reasons, the causes, and your product, you can have the proper product, and the proper quality can be there. Ways of quality improvement. How can you improve this quality? We have to all the time think about that what can be done so that quality can be improved, because it is the quality, it is the satisfaction of the customer, it is the minimum cost required for your product in some rework, some wastage or other things which are going to be there to make the quality. These are going to be eliminated. The ways of quality improvement are many. Broadly, we can have, first is PDCA cycle, that is plan, do, check, act cycle, or it is known as PDCA cycle. Different tools of quality control are there. Quality function deployment is there. In the case of PDCA, it is also known as Kaizen or Kaizen technique or Deming wheel. Kaizen is a Japanese term which is used for continuous improvement. It is circular because we are having a cycle, which is, the name is there, that is plan, do, check, act cycle. Continuously we are moving in this way, that is plan, do, check, act, and cycle is there. That's why it is known as, it is circular in nature, that is you are continuously associated for the improvement of the quality, you are continuously taking steps to improve the quality, and that's why it is known as circular. Let us see one by one what are the different ways of quality improvement. Plan, do, check, act, cycle. What you do in the case of plan? First step is you are going to evaluate the existing process. That is, in what way the product is manufactured. What are the different steps involved in that? What type of machines are going to be utilized? What are the different materials being used? So you are going to take each and every detail related to that current process. Once you have each and every detail related to the current process, you have to find out the problems. What are the problems associated with the current process? That is, if suppose you don't have the proper surface finish of your product, it means the material is not good. It means the material is not homogeneous. It means the composition of material is not proper. So you can say that because of this may be the reason that the surface finish is not going to be good. This may be one of the reasons. Another reason may be that the material of the tool is also not of proper requirement as far as the material is concerned. So there may be different problems related to defects. Based on this, first, after finding out all the problems related to your product, you suggest improvement. Develop an improvement table. What are the different improvements that can be taken in that product? You then plan and define your objectives. How can you improve your product? What are your objectives? If you are taking these steps, what objective can be achieved? You are going to plan each and every aspect related to your product. First of all, you are going to evaluate your current process, then identifying the different problems related to that, finding out or suggesting improvement for yourself, then developing an improvement table or the improvement steps, and then you are planning in what way this improvement can be carried out. Next step is do. That is, whatever you have planned, whatever improvement you have taken into consideration, of what you feel that these improvements should be there, you are going to implement them. Of course, when you are going to evaluate your product, when you are evaluating the current process and you are suggesting steps for improvement, you are first going for trial of those improvements. That is, you are implementing the improvements on the trial basis. Once the product has been manufactured on the basis of the defined objectives, on the basis of the improvement plan, on the basis of the suggested design, on the basis of the steps taken for improvement of the product, you are evaluating the modified product. Now, the product which you have made on the basis of the improvement plan, you are going to evaluate that product. You are collecting the data for that. And after collecting the data, after assessing that, after evaluating that, you are communicating the results obtained from the trial to the management. That so much improvement I have achieved. If we are doing these steps, the cost is not going to increase significantly or not increasing at all, but we can have an improvement in that product. So that management which is there, you are going to suggest him the ways, you are going to tell him the results, and then you are going to implement the plan. You may be able to have this successfully, you may not be able to be successful in that. So you keep on doing that what can be done so that the quality of your product can be improved. So this is a continuous process. Plan, do, check, act cycle. So keep on improving your quality of the product. This is what which is known as PDCA cycle. Different tools of quality: fishbone diagram, it is also known as Ishikawa diagram, and cause and effect diagram. Another is histogram. Third is Pareto analysis. Fourth is flow chart, scatter plot, run chart, and control charts. On the basis of these quality tools, you are finding out the quality of your product, that what are the defects, whether these defects are because of what reasons, what are the causes, what are the defects, what type of defects are lying under which category, what are the major defects involved associated in that. Let us see one by one. This is the fishbone diagram. You see, the shape of this is somewhat of fishbone type. That's why the name fishbone diagram is. Cause and effect is what are the causes and what are the effects. This is cause and effect diagrams. Ishikawa, it is named after the scientist who has developed this. His name was Ishikawa, and that's why the Ishikawa diagram it is also known as. So say in this example you are having 6 different variables, that is the material is there, worker is there, tool is there, supplier, heat, method. Because of these 6 variables, there may be some effects. Say if the material is not of proper quality, it is not of standard quality. So this may be the cause of the poor quality. The material is not homogeneous, or the supplier has brought a material which has not been properly finished. So there may be different reasons for that. The supplier is not reliable. Supplier is not able to provide the material at the right time. This may be another reason. Worker. One reason may be that worker is not properly trained. Another reason is this, that the worker is having some social problems with him, some family problems with him. Another is this, that the worker is not feeling well. He is ill. So he is not giving his full. He is feeling fatigue. Heat is there. Say temperature required for a particular process is say 200 degrees centigrade, but you are not able to maintain it properly at 200 degrees centigrade. It is maybe at 180 or 210. Because of that, some variation is going to be there. Tool, it is not properly finished. Tool is not hard enough, or tool is going to be heated. Again, it is going to give issues in the finished product. Method is not fine, or the method which is being used, it is having some flaws in that. So there may be different reasons for this. So in the case of cause and effect diagram, you are having different variables. You are finding out that on what factors your product is dependent, that is, it is not able to have proper quality. So you are going to find out the reason for that, and you can have these effects and can improve your product accordingly. Histogram. We all know what the histogram is. This is the variation of data which you are going to show. That is you having different data points. So how are you going to have this? First of all, you are going to collect the data. You are finding out what is the range of the data. Then on the basis of this range of the data, you are having different class intervals. You are going to divide this data into different groups and then plotting this. On the basis of that, you can say that what are the defects which are dominant. What are the defects which are more in your product? What are the defects which are having central stage in that? So you can have this graphically with you, and you can analyze that to know that what are the defects and how these defects can be eliminated, because you know that these defects may be because of which reason are there in the process which is making that product. What are the benefit of this? That is, it is showing the variation in the process. It is also showing the behavior, that is, the shape is showing the process behavior, that is in what manner the process is behaving, and the hidden sources of variation may be identified using shape and size of the dispersion. So these are the benefits of the histogram. Pareto analysis. Pareto analysis is somewhat related to the histogram. That is, this is based on the 80-20 rules. That is, it says that 80% of the problems comes from 20% of the causes, and it displays the degree of importance of each element. It is also adding weights to the repeatedly occurring things. So you are going to see that in what way the defects are behaving, and it implies that the problems are there on the basis of 80-20 rules. That is, 80% of the problems are because of 20% of the causes. That is, defect type is there, quality is there, so you are going to show these variation as far as the defect types is concerned and the quantity is concerned. So what you can do, you can classify the defects, you can count the occurrences in each group, arrange each group in order of highest to lowest, and you can then construct the bar chart. Flow chart, we all know that you are starting your process, then inspection is carried out, then work is going to carried out, and again inspection, etc. So a flow chart, each and every step has been defined in that, and on the basis of that you can know that where the discrepancy lies. Scatter plots, it is a two-dimensional plot. You are depicting the relationship between x and y, and these dots are representing the data points. Similarly, the run chart, in the case of you are joining these observational data with respect to time, that is, time and performance is there, and you can see the variation in that. Control charts. In the case of control charts, you are going to see that what is the product outcome. That is, with the help of these control charts, you can find out the product outcome. These are used to predict product outcome, and on the basis of this control charts, you can see that whether the process is in control or out of control. You can find out that the variation is because of the chance causes or because of the assignable causes. If it is in the chance causes, then you can say that it is under statistical control, and if it is assignable causes, then you can take measures for improving that. Then in the case of this product, you can see to find out that whether your process is under control or not. For this purpose, the control charts are used. These are of different types. We will see that in the coming slides. This is the diagram, or in what way the control chart is going to be made. That you are having sample number or time, then the quality, center line is there, then two limits are there. One is the upper control limit, another is the lower control limit. If the product is lying in between these two limits, you can say that your product is under control. Control chart is a process that is operating with chance causes of variation, and when it is operating in the chance causes of variation, it is in the statistical control, and when it is operating in presence of assignable causes, it is said to be out of control. How are you going to draw these control charts? It is for the normal distribution. You assume that the data follows the normal distribution. Generally, when we make these control charts, it is for more than 20 data points. You determine the range between the successive data points. You find out mean or average of the data, find the control limits, that is the 3 standard deviation, draw lines representing mean, upper and lower control limits, and then you can plot the data. So in this case, your assumption is that your data follows the normal distribution. You are finding out the mean and average of the data. You are finding the control limits and then making the control charts as we have seen previously. So this is what the control chart, just see there. Previously we have also seen that lower control limit or upper control limit is there, and in this way you can see that the control charts can be made. This quality functional deployment. Quality functional deployment is another tool which is very important as far as the quality improvement is concerned. The importance of this quality function tool or quality function deployment tool, you can say that it is based on the customer needs. It is a tool to satisfy customer needs. How are you going to satisfy the customer needs? Because you are involving the customer in the product development process. This is based on the philosophy that whatever product is being made, it is for the customer, and the customer is the one, the end user. If he is telling something related to that product, it should be given utmost importance so that he is satisfied with the product. So what it does in QFD, that you consider the voice of the customer to turn into technical info to create or improve a product. If suppose it's the customer says the strength, it is not durable, say customer says it breaks very easily, so what the engineer is going to do, he is going to decide whether the strength of this product is perfect or not, whether he needs to change the material, so that this aspect which the customer says that the strength is not good can be looked into. This is the requirement of the customer. This is going to be turned into technical info by the engineer to improve the product. Then another is, it is a set of graphical planning matrices used in product development cycles, because one customer is saying one thing, another customer is saying another thing, third is saying another thing. You will be having a large number of requirement by the customer, so you have to see what requirements are of utmost important, what requirements are there which are not going to have much weightage as far as this product is concerned. So you have to find out that in what way these are to be incorporated in the product. So this enables the design people that the requirement of the customer should be incorporated to redesign the product so that the product may be modified. So in the case of quality function deployment, basic theme is this, that what are the customer wants, all the customer needs are going to be listened, and then these customer needs are to be converted by the engineer in the technical information, and the product development people are going to design it, or they are going to modify it so that whatever is required by the customer, that is going to be incorporated in that product. So this quality function deployment gives rise to building a house of quality. So the steps involved in this, that first of all you are writing the customer requirement. Another list the technical descriptors. What are the technical description of that? That the customer requirements are there. So on the basis of this customer requirements, what are the technical description of these customer requirements? You are going to develop association. Different requirements are there. What is the association among these requirements? The interrelationship you are going to find out. And whatever is going to be there, you have to assess your competitor, that you keep on adding all these requirements. If the cost is going to be more of your product, obviously that is going to be not accepted by the customers because of the cost considerations, etc. So you have to assess your the competitor position, or you have to see that in what way the competition is going to be there as far as the customer, as far as the competitor is there. Customer requirements you are going to see, and then decide the priority of technical descriptors. What are the priorities of technical descriptors are there? That is all going to be incorporated in that. This is the house of quality. Customer voice is there. He is going to give you his requirement on the left side. On the right side, you are going to prioritize customer requirement, that whatever are there that are going to be listened, that are going to be written by the company, and you are going to prioritize customer requirement based on the competitor. You have to see the competitor as well, that what your competitor is doing in that type of product. So you have to prioritize accordingly. Similarly, in between, this is the relation between requirement and descriptors. Whatever the requirement are there and what the description says, that you are going to analyze the two. You are going to have this priority of technical descriptors, that is what is the importance, what is the rating, what is the technical difficulty associated with that particular type of requirement, what is the target value, and all these things. On the basis of that, you are going to have this relation between requirement and descriptors. Then these product characteristics are going to be seen, and then you are going to have this interaction matrix that is based on the customer requirements, based on the technical descriptions, assessing the competitor's position and giving weightage of the requirement of the customer, that is which requirements need to be given more weightage, which needs to be given less weightage, in what way these requirements are going to have as far as this different product characteristics are concerned. You are going to have this interaction matrix, and then the house of quality is going to be made. So in this way you can have a better quality product when you are giving weightage to the customer and designing a product, making a product on the basis of the requirement of the customer. Six Sigma quality. Six Sigma quality, it is used to improve the processes. Six Sigma is the variation which is existing between plus minus 6 standard deviation of the process output. That is, in this you are minimizing the process variation. Whatever output is going to be there, it is going to be plus minus 6 sigma limit, and this is going to be very close to the target value, and it uses DMAIC and DMADV methods. These two methods are used, and in the case of DMAIC, define, measure, act, inspect, check. Similarly, DMAD, define, measure, act, design, validate. So these are the techniques which are used for Six Sigma quality. DMAIC is used for the products which are existing, while in the case of DMADV, this is for the new product which you are going to design. That is, you are going to redesign processes either which are not able to satisfy customers, or there is a product at all which is to be developed, or this is a new method, or you are going to define or redesign a new product. In this case, DMADV is going to be used. Increase in performance and decrease in process variation help reduce defects, and thus it is going to improve the quality. So this is what the Six Sigma quality. Let us see how this Six Sigma variation is there as far as this this graph is concerned. In the case of a specification limit, minus 3 sigma to plus 3 sigma, you are having 2600 parts per million outside 3 sigma limit, while in the case of 6 sigma limit, you are having 3.4 parts per million outside 6 sigma limit. So what is the variation is there? In the case of 6 sigma limit, you are reducing the variability of this. So you can say that only 3.4 parts per million are going to be outside of the 6 sigma limit. The techniques which we have just now said, that is Six Sigma uses two types. One is DMAIC, that is define, measure, analyze, improve, control. So you are going to define, that is in this definition you are going to define the problem, what the customer says, what is the value, what is the scope of the product, and what is the timeline of the product for manufacturing that. You are going to measure this, you are going to assess the demands, measurement, capability, Pareto charts for problems, etc. Similarly, you are going to analyze the product on the basis of different tools, finding out the root cause. You are going to carry out the graphic analysis, future value you are going to find out, ANOVA analysis of variance is there for analysis. Then you are going to improve the process. Either you are going to optimize this, you are going to redesign this, that is the process is going to be improved. And then control, that is documentation, analyze, change and mistake proof. So in the case of Six Sigma, you are, what are you doing? Different steps you are taking. You are defining the problem afresh on the basis of customer, on the basis of the value of the product, what is the scope of the product, and what is the timeline of this. You are measuring this. This is the assessing the demand measurement capability on the basis of Pareto charts, analyzing this, improving this, and controlling this. Six Sigma DMADV, again define, measure, analyze, design, validate. So in this case you are going to validate the process because you are having the new method, you are designing the new method, or you are going to redesign totally a fresh one. So you have to assess the product. That's why the validation is also going to be there. So in this case, in the case of Six Sigma, you are going to have your product analyzed, taking step 1, starting from the defining till the last, that in what way it can be improved. In this way, you are going to take assessment, you are going to find out the causes, and everything you are going to take into consideration and designing the process to optimize it. Thank you.